Hey guys, this is John Scarborough. I hope y'all don't have trouble hearing me. I'm a little hoarse right now. I just got through with the cold, and my throat's been just a little bit messed up. Feel pretty good, kind of getting back to work, and I just hate stopping completely. Even if I'm sick, I always feel better if I'm doing something. So I've just come out here and I got my mushroom spawn, and I'm getting ready to start planting start inoculating logs for some mushrooms and see how that'll work out. This is a spot over here next to the pond. These are my logs that I've selected out for, some of them are for mushroom logs, most of them are. Those two I'll probably use to, they're a water oak, I think. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that's what they are. Anyway, so I'll probably use those two. They are a variety of oak, so I'll use them to lay stuff on, maybe some hay bales or just materials around the farm. They come in handy because they last quite a while, and it's a lot better than just throwing them away. Anyway, as y'all can see, the ducks are pretty happy. Finally got them to stay down here at the pond. For a while, when I first took them down here, because we had them up at the house, I think I had them up there a little bit too long. They got so used to being close to the shop that they felt like they needed to be up there at the shop. So they'd come up there and hang out with me while I was working. So for a little bit, I was a little worried. I didn't want that to become a habit because they were, I didn't want them to be a nuisance, and I also didn't want them to be up there where any tractors or trucks could run over them, or have to worry about the FedEx or the UPS drivers weren't running over them or something like that. Plus, I don't like animals right there at my front door, like ducks and chickens and stuff. Just don't like stepping in their manure. But anyway, they'll do a lot better on this pond anyway. What I did was I just made sure I never fed them up there. My hope is to get to where I don't feed them that much and they forage for most of their food. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I fed them as I'm getting them used to new areas. So I just made sure that I only fed them down here. After 3 days, they've been down here ever since and haven't been a problem at all. I've noticed that ducks they don't like to break their habits. Once they get used to something, they want to stay doing that. So anyway, back over here, we're going to clean all of this up and cut all these out. Most of these are junk trees. They're never going to amount to anything. They're too close together. A lot of them are just sweet gums or something like that, and they're not going to amount to anything, especially not that close. What my thought is A, I'll either leave it cleaned up, or B, I actually really liked what the tree profile looked like. It wouldn't have stayed looking that way because they would have grown up really tall. So I knew I had to cut it out. It wouldn't have been good for the health of the trees. But anyway, and it's not on the pond dam, so there's no problem with having trees on this side of a pond. But I just wanted to cut them out, just because it wasn't going to work right. So anyway, my thought is, and I'm not entirely sure, but I'm really thinking about planting some trees back in this area, kind of in the same area, but spacing them out to where the health of the tree can stay good, but also planting some type of a tree that's really productive. My thought is a mayhaw tree. So if anybody like lining this area with mayhaw trees and then just kind of like coming out in a U shape or a big C shape. So like having maybe 1, 2, and then come back across the back, and then 1, 2, and then have those there. Maybe be able to, my wife might put a bench or something like that in there. She had a bench in there in between these trees before, and that might look nice. But I just figure the mayhaw trees, they produce food. They're actually a fairly good looking tree. I like the way they look, and a lot of people say they do better closer to water. But anyway, so we're going to try that out. I just like the idea of having things on my farm that produce food. Even if I never ate mayhaws, to me, if it's there, it needs to produce food. I can either sell it, or if I really get into hard times, then there it is. That's some good food. But if you look at the nutritional profile of mayhaws, they're actually pretty good. They put a lot of, they have some decent health benefits. I kind of wanted to come over here. These are 3 white oaks right here. That was all twisted in together. And there's no way that those trees would have ended up being healthy. They just wouldn't have been healthy. And that's why stuff like that. You really want to go ahead and get those out of there in a way. And you can see here we got where the previous owner had, well, I'm not sure who did it. The previous owner was actually my father-in-law, and I know him better than that. There's no way he would have done that. He'd have been upset if anybody did that, but I don't know who did it. This stuff will last for a long time, but this just really makes me upset when I see this kind of thing. This is terrible. This is not good for anybody or anything. Plastic takes a long time to decompose. This stuff can get wrapped up in equipment. It can get wrapped around an animal's leg. It just really makes me upset when I see that. So if anybody is getting into farming, getting into raising cows, I don't care what it costs you, do not ever leave plastic laying around. I would rather, you would be better off to downsize your cattle herd if you think you can't handle, if you ain't got the time to get off your piece of equipment and take them strings off. It doesn't take that long. Do not ever do that. That is a very, very bad thing. I don't like seeing it. But anyway, back to this. I don't want to rant too much. These type of trees right here, I hate talking like this, guys. I hate being hoarse. I really hope y'all can hear me. But these types of trees, they're not only will they never be healthy, but they can also be somewhat problematic to cut down. With this size tree, they're small enough. They're not as dangerous. They can be potentially dangerous, but they're not terribly dangerous, because if it did fall on you, you're probably going to get bunged up a little, but you're not going to break anything, and it might not kill you. Now, it could actually hurt you, and you should always think of it like that. Like, you should always treat it like that. And I like to take trees like this, these small trees, use them as my practice trees, because you're going to run into some dangerous scenarios if you use a chainsaw very much. You're going to run into some places where there's some bigger trees that are like this, and they can be dangerous if you're not careful and you don't know how to cut them down. I'm not a professional with a chainsaw by any means. I have actually made some money with a chainsaw. I've worked at a job where it was a tree service, and we did do stuff like that. But I wouldn't consider myself a professional in any means. There were several guys there that definitely give me a run for my money any day of the week. But anyway, I learned a lot of little tips from them, and I'm not going to tell you anything you hear from me. Don't think, I'm not telling you what to do. You're doing it at your own risk. I'm not telling you that that's the best thing for you to do or how to do it, but it might be something to consider, and then maybe go watch some other people. But anyway, I'm just going to tell you how I do it. I don't care, don't listen to me. You're doing this at your own risk. But for me, I have found with these smaller trees especially, now big tree, you really got to be more careful and different. You got to think it through. But first of all, this is for shiitake mushrooms. So of course I came up to a height where I don't want to use that big of a log for shiitake mushroom if I don't have to. So I came up to that height because I'll use the rest of that log for, I'll use it for setting stuff on or something like that, and they'll last for a long time. So I just went ahead and made that cut to conserve my cuts. But secondly, I'm at a comfortable height with my chainsaw. I'm not down there crawling around on the ground, because you can see the twist is really bad. And that was the second reason I came up to that high. The twist is very bad, and it's hard to get a chainsaw in there. And the biggest danger, once you get past the danger on you or your life, the biggest danger is that it's easy to knock a chainsaw chain off. I even saw a guy, it got in a bind and knocked it off one time, and when it did, the chainsaw actually ripped the clutch off. And it was so expensive that it was very close to the same price as a new chainsaw to fix everything. There was different damage. I think it may have even bent the bar on it, But anyway, it's just really, I hate seeing that kind of stuff. So try to be really careful on things like this. Not only are you endangering your life if you're not careful, but you can really mess up your equipment that way. So all I did was, I started with this one. I came up to the height where I felt like they were separated and I could see around them. As you can see, these trees, there was a little space once I got to this height. You can't always do that, but that's what I was able to do here. So I got up to that point. I came in right here and started cutting it. And be careful when you're doing it, because as soon as that tree leans, you don't want to nick this side. Don't cut this side first. Don't cut it at all. Start here. This is just what I do. Like I said, come in, and then as soon as it starts to lean, pull your saw out. Don't let it get stuck. Pull it right out of there as soon as it starts to lean, and then let it finish leaning over. You may even need to push it a little bit, and then you can actually fit your saw back here. You barely nick it, comes right down, no problem, and then you can work your way around and get around to that side. No issues at all, nothing. The main thing is I didn't have a tangled up mess, and I didn't harm my saw, and I didn't harm myself. And then if there were other people around, I wouldn't have to worry about harming them. So anyway, hope that helps somebody. Definitely go watch some other good chainsaw. There's a lot of videos out there. I think there's one guy I really like watching on YouTube. I think it's the Essential Craftsman. He does all sorts of really awesome. He's just an awesome guy, but he's got a lot of knowledge with chainsaws. I would go watch his stuff with that for sure. But anyway, so I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna get this little spot cleaned up in here. We're gonna keep working, having to kind of pace myself. I have to work by myself, so I have to cut a little bit and then stop and go to work. But anyway, so we're gonna do that. My sawmill will be here in a few days, so hopefully if y'all are watching, y'all should be able to see that sawmill as well, and we should be able to put some videos out on that. So anyway guys, don't forget to like and subscribe as always.